I just actually finished one of my meetings.
Yeah.
Okay, meeting is being okay. I just finished one of my meetings. So right now you're preparing for classes. So it's such a busy whatever. I don't even know how someone looks like now. Yeah. Lakini.
Tuko fresh, tuko salama. Mimi niko salama sana.
Oh, that's good. That's good. How about you, Nyerere? It's you I've been touching base with.
Yeah. Niko salama pia.
Okay.
Ninaitwa Nyerere. And nimetoka Nyamira, Kisumu, Kenya. Yeah, nilikuwa U of T, nilisoma African Studies na Neuroscience.
Okay.
Yeah, na sasa niko hapa nje na ng'ang'ana na kazi kidogo.
Umepata kazi lakini at least something you're doing, right?
Yeah, I have something I'm doing at the moment.
Oh, that's great. That's good. That's great.
Yeah,
we should go to Mtende. Let's get Mtende.
Yeah, so many Frank Mtende kutoka Coast.
Coasty.
Yeah. Lisoma U of T pia na our marafiki zangu, very good friends of mine. Nilikutana way back, I think 2015, 2014 Nyerere. Nilisomea statistics and African studies pia. Na pia mi pia saizi niko nachapa job tu pia. Alafu on the side, see wote watu nachapa the YouTube channel.
Which was so interesting.
Yeah.
It was super interesting because I'll tell you this. Even before I go there, let me hear about Nyambok quiet.
Yeah,
you already quiet.
Naitwa Hillary Nyambok. Yeah, pia mimi nilisoma na hawa vijana. Pia mimi nilisoma statistics and African studies kama Frank.
Okay.
U of T. Yeah, I was born in Homa Bay. Yeah, Homa Bay to Starehe Boys Center to University of Toronto.
These guys from Starehe Center.
Yeah, so saizi tunang'ang'ana tuna maisha kama kila mtu yeyote.
Hii raundi lakini mmepatikana. Mimi naitwa Nyaga. Jina Nyaga mnajua. I don't even need to introduce myself. I'm not actually from Central Province. I'm from Eastern Province.
Yeah.
So, okay, born in Nairobi.
Yeah.
But raised up, and actually this is where the conversation all starts. Because I'm saying this because of Nyerere. Nyerere, your story touched me, and I couldn't even finish the whole thing, but I was like, shit, this thing is, this, I felt Nyerere. Then I think, I don't know whether it's Mutendo Hillary who took over. So this aspect of, we don't grow in a nuclear family, we grow in a bigger house, like whatever. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying I grew up, born in Nairobi, raised up in the rural areas of Embu.
Yeah.
Right? By my grandmother and my grandfather. So many mse wa tao, but at the same time, mse wa ushago. So niko pale in between.
Yeah.
So mimi mambo ya kuvuka mpaka nilianza nikiwa mtoi. Right? Ile kuvuka kutoka town kwenda ushago. So this is a story I've written, so I don't need even to whatever so much. So I grew up in Embu. I went to a day school in Embu. Of course, the thing is, when I went to Embu, now because nimezaliwa Nairobi, I knew a little bit of Kiswahili. So kids were so, huu ni mtoto mgani? And then who anajua mpaka Kiswahili? You know Shago, right?
Yeah.
Kiswahili, like, whoa, what anajua Kiswahili? So anyway, I finished my school in Embu. Then I went to Charles Lwanga.
Oh yeah.
Right. For those who in Kitui. Then after that, things weren't that good. I ended up working with Plan International. Just holding on to whatever for a while. I didn't go to school. Afterwards, I joined Catholic University. Then afterwards, I decided to come and do my my undergraduate. So nimefanyia undergraduate hapa na nimefanyia my masters hapa na my PhD at UFT. So UFT pale ndipo tunakutania sasa. So if you talk about politics of UFT, if you talk about African studies, in fact, my research was on African studies, Africans in diaspora, specifically Kenyans in diaspora. And when I listen to your story, actually it's the same thing that I go through. You know, nyumbani, this mtu amepanda ndege. Sasa huyu ndiye atatutoa kwa hii shida.
Yeah, true.
And there's nothing that is heavy like that. You carry the whole family and community and clan, even the tribe, on your shoulders.
Yeah.
And we're talking about that on a place where you also have a family. Manake niko na watoi, right? Niko na watoi watatu, jambazi wawili na dem moja. And I can tell you my jambas ukula, so I have to invest a lot of money. Plus, you know, rent is not that easy here. It's very expensive. So anyway, there before things, you know, things were running well, and then sasa ile nilipata na wewe Nyerere ni ile ulisema wakati walijua nimepata kazi. Acha zilimbukane. So the same thing I went through Nyerere actually this year, and I'm still going through. And I think I don't know whether it's Frank or Nyamboku say it comes to a point where like you really have to love yourself.
Yeah.
And to take a particular whatever. But it's at that point, like I think you said something that was so curious. So me, I'm a social worker.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And I'm not just a usual social worker. I'm assuming you've read my work. So I'm into textual analysis. So every word has a meaning.
Yeah.
And I think there's something you said, Nyerere, that stood out. You said, I feel guilty. So there's a way they come to me and to tell me something and I feel guilty. Then I ask, where does that guilt come from? And when we say guilty, where is that guilt, consciousness coming from? And because we live in an environment where, and this is a lecturer now, the lecturer me, okay. We live in an environment where everything is for the marketplace.
Oh yeah.
And majority of time we think of market as corporations, but actually individuals are also corporations.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We can use you know, this time emotions are now products for sale in the market. And it's very easy. I've seen that over time. Unakuta because there's a particular culture, yeah. Tutaishi mali pamoja, mimi ni familia na wewe, nini wewe utaniacha, mimi ukienda juu tunaenda pamoja. But then people use that for the selfish, you know, selfish ends.
Yeah.
And I think, and that selfish end leaves you, you know, harmed mentally. I think this is something that I assume majority of you, because now I think we speak from a place of knowledge.
Yeah.
It's something that you are facing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's and I can tell you, I go through a lot of that mental health. Like right today, nimepigiwa simu, unajua brother yako ako hivi na hivi, sijui ni, and you know these things they end up to one whatever. You are the only one unaangaliwa. So
oh yeah,
that's where I'm coming from. So let's talk. I just opened up the floor.
Yeah. So maybe I'll talk about the issue ya guilt kwanza.
Yeah, please.
So inakuja from two different perspectives. So kwanza nafikiria these are the people ambao wameni raise, they sacrificed and wakanipea resources hadi place yenye nimefika. Halafu so na feel like yani sijawasaidia yani at that moment, so that's where the guilt comes in. So that's on me sasa. Alafu on the other end, yeah, I feel guilty about my success. So nasema ani if maybe singekuwa na this responsibility ama this success, kama singekuwa na this success, singekuwa na this responsibility. Alafu naanza kudoubt, maybe if I didn't have this responsibility, ningekuwa fara in terms of like my financial position. Yeah.
So is that ukisema maybe, is it like saying, is it like a wish? Like, it's because I have this that I'm facing this.
Yeah.
To a point where it's like, and upside down, it's like if I didn't have this, then I wouldn't have this.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
There's a point of, you know, that's what we call that. That's internalized. Yeah, that's internalized, and I think hiyo ni kitu watu wa nyumbani, they don't know this, because I also go through the same thing. Nyerere, you're not alone on this. I also go through the same thing. Now my success becomes like a curse.
Oh yeah.
Right? Mimi imefika mahali mpaka nilikuwa naambiwa, ikiwa utakuwa umefikisha au utakuwa umesaidia mtu by this time, wewe tumekuka. You know what I mean? And then ilo anakuambia ni ati kuleta mpaka familia yao hapa. I have children and I have a family and I have a wife. I mean, so I think what it's that guilt consciousness to an extent where you hate your self-improvement. The self-improvement becomes more like a task. Yeah, that's internalized. And I think if culture is to that extent where you internalize a perspective until you hate yourself, that's part of what the internalization of internalize negative culture.
Yeah.
So Prof, how can you like unlearn like,
I like the word.
internalized like ISO internalized like ideas? How do we unlearn it? Like for me and the generation, yeah.
To unlearn is not an easy thing. It's something that has taken time. It's, you know, you've grown in a particular culture, and that culture has become you. You've become that culture. You've embraced that culture. So you're asking, how do I unwrap myself from that culture? If you're in my class, especially in philosophy or ethics and philosophy, I'll tell you, how do you break away from that? Right? And that breaking away, it's not just about you.
Yeah.
First of all, you have to learn that it's not just about you. It's also about the other.
Yeah.
The other who has been raised in the same culture, and this other cannot even explain why they tell you those things. It is generationally transferred.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
And so, and you know, it's generations and generations. You know, mpaka hata mimi sasa, there's a place we are meeting, right? Because it's passed over generations after generations after generations. And I think one of the aspects is, first of all, this is not your own work to do, but it's also your work to do. Is that making sense? So the thing we have here is, do you know majority of diaspora community, if you tell them to come out the way you guys came out, they will not try to do that.
Yeah.
Why do you think they will do that? In short, I'll ask you, what was your feeling the first time you thought about this idea and bringing it to YouTube? Mulingisha njeve.
Kiasi yake haikuwa rahisi.
Yes, and the first thing about kuingisha Njeve ni how are they going to take it? Back home. Oh, unajua Nyerere na Frankie na Hillary walifika kula wakajua sasa wataachana na sisi walemavu, kitu kama hiyo.
Yeah.
You know, that's how they take it.
Yeah.
But then that's the first thing you have to deal with, the fear. It's very clear at the moment, for which it's powerful the way you did it, that you've already taken those steps, the few steps.
Yeah.
You've created a conversation. Manake hii kitu si wewe utamaliza. And another thing is to remember that it will take a while. It's not something that you wake up one day and then boom, we are in a new world where sasa sifuatiliwi. No, it will take time. Right? It will take time. So time is of yes. But also you have also to be considerate of the space. The space you've grown, right? Where you grew up with your parents, plus another space you've grown while you're here. These two spaces, they speak different languages.
Yeah.
You know that, right? The space you are in right now has helped you break away from that fear.
Yeah, true.
Right now, you feel a form of security because first of all, you're educated, uko na kazi, but also distance-wise, uko far. Hii story ukiambia mzee wako kama uncle yako pale nyumbani hivi mko mmeangaliana, it will be a little bit difficult.
Oh yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So distance also has helped you to do that. But the conversation has started from a distance, and this conversation has to be grounded somewhere. And ground yake iko nyumbani. And to say that it has to be grounded somewhere is to say, I think we have to have a conversation, this diasporic transnational conversation between us who are here and they who are there. Because I'll tell you this for a fact. You've been here for how long?
This is our
Frank and I, 6 years. Hillary, 9 or 10 years.
So you know,
seven. Nitakuwa 8 by September.
Oh.
So you know very well the way you used to live back home is not the same way it will be if you go back right now.
Yeah.
You know that back home you're actually a foreigner. You're more like a foreigner. Ukifika nyumbani, kaa miezi sita uanza kusikia maswali. Who are you? What are you doing here?
Prof, nikukatili kidogo.
Yes.
I think everyone interact na ile book ya Frantz Fanon.
Frantz Fanon, yes.
Yeah, black
skin, white mask.
Yeah. So sisi ni tuko na hiyo black skin lakini white mask yani.
but you know Frantz Fanon, you know, he white mask is a very interesting black skin white mask. So right now, you know, you have the white mask.
Yeah.
Kama unafikiria una masomo yote unasomea pale African studies na statistics na all these things. That was white. It was the mask that walikuwa naiweka.
Yeah.
And the real you imekuwa hidden. But this is not just about education, but right from the time when you are born, there's a process we go through of masking us.
Yeah.
Right? So that wewe vile ulivyo Nyerere, actually si wewe, unaishi mtu mwingine.
Oh yeah, true.
Is that making sense?
Yeah.
Wazazi walikulea hivi, culture was inscribed in you, so you live somebody else. You don't live yourself. So what is happening right now, umeanza kufunua mask. And that aspect of kufunua mask is very violent. And that's a violence that Fanon talks about.
Yeah, true.
So it's very violent. It's like you are denying who you are. But who you are is not who you are.
Oh, yeah.
You exist others. But now you are saying, I don't want to exist others. I want to exist I.
Yeah.
I mean me, because I is colonial. Right? I want to exist me. But that aspect, that stand, it's me speaking. And I mean, and you're going against the whatever of the mask. You are returning to who you are, who you were supposed to be, but you never became.
Yeah, true.
It's growth. Because right now, it feels like you're disappearing. The I is disappearing. But there's a necessity for that disappearance of the I for me to come to, appreciate who it is, and to start existing, because we don't exist. We exist others.
Oh yeah, true.
You get where I'm coming from, right? So right now, sasa mlipanga mimi hii kitu lazima tuongee, mimi nimechoka. That was violent.
Yeah.
And part of becoming me, in and of itself, is violence. It's a violent encounter. Encountering with who you are made to be.
Yeah.
And it's I usually say that's a death. It's a cultural, social, whatever death when you start, eating up the mask so that you start appearing. Now your mask imekuwa defined all through, and all of a sudden unasema hisi mimi ni huyu. That's violent. So that's part of it. So I think so far, and what I'll tell you this, and I will not hide it. Even me, you just surprised me. That's not a conversation to put out there. But you set out, you started a conversation, and I can assure you this, because mostly people in diaspora, unatuma pesa nyumbani, watu wanakula, na ni watu wanaambiwa ambao wanaambilika wanakupenda. Unafika nyumbani, wanakutumia picha, wanakuambia nyumba imefika hapa, lakini ukifika nyumbani unakuta ni kachoka kalitumwa, kalitengenezwa, ukiambiwa ni nyumba
ni ya jirani.
Yeah, but the most interesting thing is you don't even want to start a conversation right there. Unarudi. But remember, these are still your people.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing, is to break away from that mask and mask the whole culture, the Embu culture, the Luo culture, the whatever culture, and mask it. Make it public. To make it public is to say, let's have a discussion.
Yeah.
Because I cannot continue suffering because of how I was raised.
Yeah.
We need also to have a conversation, because hata wale watu wengine ambao wanakula pesa yako, hata wao wenyewe hawajijui kwa nini wanafanya hivyo.
Yeah.
In fact, if you take this conversation higher, you realize that it's not just about you and them. It's also about a form of colonialism that has been inscribed even in our own culture. And so a conversation that you are allowing, that you precipitated at the moment, should have and should be a healthy conversation, and actually should have been started a long time. But watu wamekuwa wakijificha, create impression the West. When you go to the West, pesa hapo ndipo imelala, huko ndiko tunafagianga pesa, asubuhi unaenda unailalia kwa mattress, and then tunaonyesha magari kubwa kubwa na nyumba kubwa kubwa, but we don't want to engage with what we go through ili tukuja kuwa ati tunaendesha gari. Na kwanza, for your information, gari hata si kitu. That is a necessity, especially in your family. But back home, sometimes it's taken as, in class. I think the key thing here is to have that. It may sound very violent, but it's a necessary conversation, and it should be a healthy conversation. Rather than break away na familia, nyumbani, I think it's necessary for us to now start having a conversation about also the pain we go through. And I think I did like that aspect. And plus, it's also gonna help break away that guilt consciousness we have. This is the far that I can help you, mom. My brother, this is how far I can help. beyond this, I can assure you. So we now start having those conversations. They're difficult conversations, but actually they are necessary conversations. I hope I answered you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the very insightful answer.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, I'm super excited by the work you're doing. And
thank you.
And if anything, I'm definitely around to have back and forth conversation, but especially for this topic, Nyerere, I think, and your friends Frank and Hillary, I think this is so important.
Yeah.
Super important.
Yeah. I have another question. Yeah. So we mentioned something about mostly like the groups of people that need help when you wanafanya, like the issue of black tax inakuwa a major issue, like the children and the older generations. And we mentioned something about the government. Maybe we come up with policies to help like the older people sana getting the like healthcare, insurance, and the young people kupata like education, because that's their number one priority. So how do you think tunaweza fanya nini to push the government to come up with policies on the same and make sure that they are implemented the right way?
You know, I'm actually my PhD. Okay, my first degree in social work, master's in social work, but my PhD is on actually sociology of education. So it's very easy for us to talk about education in Kenya. I've written an article actually on how we need to reimagine education in Kenya. Then I wrote about indigenizing education. In terms of putting, inscribing indigenous ways of living into the education, into education practices, right? Both teaching and learning. And one among them was, for example, I'll tell you this. When I was growing up, I've told you I was raised by my grandmother, right? So you should tell people this and they make fun of it. But here's the thing. I used to go to school, formal school, of course. Nasoma, my mom was, my grandmother actually was a Catholic. So wakati kumefika nini ya CRE, remember CRE, Christian Religious Education, nilikuwa naenda nafanya exam, narudi nyumbani after exam, tuna review your exam na shosho. And trust me, she used to be like the marking scheme. Because you tell me this and this, and but also not just because of that, but also I used to have conversation with her about, of course, Biblia, because I have to pass the CRE. And to tell the truth, I think I used to do very well in CRE. Right. So you see, teaching is not just about formal shule. And shule should not be just seen as lazima uende shule ya kawaida ili uwe umehitimu. In short, what I'm saying is we also need to reimagine teaching and learning. So what we have today is corporate education. Why is it corporate? It's defined to train somebody like me and you to go to school, get white education, colonial education, to go and serve the master who is white. So what we are educated to do is to be workers.
Yeah.
But we are never educated on how we can also be employers.
Oh yeah, true.
How many people so far wanajua mambo ya, for example, how to start business, how to do, for example, a stock market. When we talk about bonds, Kenya inachukua bonds. How many people how many people even understand what that business of bonds is all about. So what happens is to an education system, I'm trying to train who are just workers, laborers, and not to think outside of that box. To stay within that box of slavehood. So that sisi mambo yetu ni consume, never producing.
Yeah.
So that at one point ukienda university upate masters na PhD, you can't even think of going pale ushago ufanye farming. Because ni ya watu wa chini.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we have to reimagine education in Kenya. It has to take a different perspective than it is today. Today is still the infrastructure that is education in Kenya still is within a particular colonial narrative. The colonial narrative of just imagining this African person as a tool. So sisi wanga tunafikiriwa tu kama ile mashini nyingine ya kawaida. We are not like living. Just remember the conversation, we exist others. So we exist others even in education. Also education in Kenya is more like a prison. So that watoto tu wanawekwa tu kwa wanawekwa tu kwa kitumba ili wakue ili wakodeshoniwe. So inakuwa a place for conditioning minds.
Yeah.
Conditioning them to, civilize them, to become like the white man, to serve the white man, but not to serve themselves.
Yeah.
That's the kind of disappearance that we have in the education system. So the African mind disappears in the process of education. Rather than being educated, it is being miseducated. And I think one aspect about for which I would call out is, I think, for the government to reimagine education in ways that are, contextual. Because sasa ukinisomesha mambo ya Niagara Falls na niko Kenya, Niagara Falls itanifanyia nini Kenya? Unless uniambie zile megabytes, what we call it in electricity, unless venye inatoa electricity ili niende pale nyumbani anaitwa Mboinjero, hata mimi ni manake there is a fault there, hata mimi produce. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
sasa ukiniambia mambo ya Niagara Falls, ati Niagara Falls ina attract you, then tell me how maybe I can build Mount Kenya to be like Niagara Falls. But if you're just telling me Niagara Falls is found in Ontario, Toronto, Canada, what the heck? Anyway, let me not whatever this. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it has to be contextual. It has to be people-centered.
Yeah.
So that how I look at education in Embu may not necessarily be the same as how you look at it, as how Nyerere would look at it. So that we have diversities of ideas. Right now, we only have one aspect of education, but not diversities of how to have an education that produces knowledge. Instead, what we have this unilinear form of education that never thinks outside the box. We just wait for people to produce knowledge for us. We don't produce knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm saying is, if we can pay attention to that, then hata kina Shosho, I don't need to fear going back to Shosho, fanya farming na yeye, plus also seeking the ideas on how they've done farming over time.
Yeah.
Because what happens is, hii education inatupatianga hii nini ya kuwa, Shosho ako kule, huyo alipitwa na wakati, najua mimi ndiye .com. But also it's not just that, but also having conversation with your Shosho. And those are healthy conversations. So that tunamwelezea nya nilienda huku nini waliniambia walinifundisha hivi, what do you think about it? Wewe umekuwa you've been doing farming over time, so that you don't just have the classroom that is at Egerton University, but that classroom is also being brought to the communities. Now, if that happens, everybody will be proud of where they are, and so it will change all these aspects of life and being this healthy living, not just for us. Plus, because after you, it has to say to have these conversations that we're having, this conversation that we brought forward with diaspora, so that diaspora is not just far away, it's also near.
Oh yeah, true.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I hope I answered you. Sometimes I talk like that, I'm just cyclical thinking.
I enjoyed the discussion because pia inafanya nafikiria different perspectives. So yeah. I'm enjoying the discussion.
That's good. That's good. I'm happy you're doing it. How about you, Frank and Hillary? What's your thoughts?
Thoughts. So just thinking about in historia guilt, what we were talking about. Alafu we posted something online ile ya Trevor Noah akiongelea akiongelea hiyo black tax venye it shouldn't weigh on you, kwamba wewe kama umeenda shule you're supposed to like pay it kind of forward in a way, lakini home sasa tulipost that video on TikTok. Alafu a lot of South Africans walikuja wakicomment wakisema we should realize that this is a privilege kwanza, the fact that we are able to get this education huku, so we shouldn't really condemn people when they're trying to ask help from us. I think sa vitu kaizo ukiona reading them na kuna some truth to them.
Yes.
I think it kind of inaongezea hiyo aspect ya guilt kiasi, especially kwanza if you've been experiencing it before, alafu mtu akupatie that kind of perspective, unaona kweli I should really be doing more, and I'm out here saying I shouldn't be doing that. So
but again, Frank, it's not about, I'll tell you this, we come from a community that we believe helping each other, and yes, we are supposed to help. But it's just the fact that there is a number given in terms of that help that I have a problem with. Yeah, you're right, Nyerere, Ubuntu. We're supposed to help each other, definitely. Nyerere, if whatever, and you need some help and you think that Nyaga can help, definitely. But it's when we put a number into that, when we put the quantity into that help, when number is given, it becomes part of how to help. So that mtu anakuambia nitumie pesa hii. And you know very well you can't measure up to that. You get the point? Mtu anakuambia, oh, nitumie 600,000, manake amecalculate na dollar na nani dollar. The person doesn't know unaenda kufanya job kupata $10 per hour. Plus the living standard here is very high. And I think it's also colonial. You know, money is colonial, right? So I think the conversation here is the thing. I think it's also very it's imperative, very important, not to come out like you're condemning those behind us, because it seemingly look like of course wataanza kusema you are running away from your culture. Ours is not to condemn. Pale mahali nikasema hata wao wenyewe they exist others, they don't even know and they can't even explain why they're doing that. Ile wanaweza tu kukuambia ni shida tuko nayo, lakini wewe ni mtu umeelewa, unajua right now, especially with COVID-19, plus also right now actually this is the time that IMF is injecting money, and plus structural adjustment program, and all these things, they also have strings attached to say, fanya hivi, kata watu nini. So dependence issue, like we are saying, you guys will even go up. You will not be surprised, close to 70-75% maybe the dependency, whatever. But here's the thing, it's not about condemning our people. Again, ukikumbuka pale nilikuwa nakwambia, let's not lose them just because of a quantification of the measure we need to apply in helping them. Even them themselves, we don't understand why they put a number in it. It's a colonial narrative that is ongoing. It masks, that one masks our conversation so that it becomes so easy for us to push blame on them and not anywhere else. That we know very well, companies, these corporations, the government has some aspects of, blame into all this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason why, for me, I think the first thing is to have a conversation. And of course, this conversation is going to come in with so much anger. Definitely there will be a blame, but now we have also now to start engaging with how do we unmask this blame so that I don't blame my brother or my uncle who is in Kenya. Start looking beyond individual. We start looking at how structurally these issues are manifested and how we are implicated in manifesting these issues. I hope I'm making some sense in that.
Yeah.
Because our family still remains our family. But at the same time, the conversation has to start. And the conversation, of course, starts from a very difficult place. Sometimes it will seemingly look like we are blaming them.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. That's okay, Frank. That's okay. But the conversation has started. So now it's for us to have this, transnational conversation, to expand this, to expand Kenya beyond Kenya. Start now thinking beyond Kenya, so that hata wao waanze kuona ile the pains and the aspects that we are going through while in diaspora.
Yeah.
So hata wao wenyewe, it's like a movie. Hata wao, while they are there, they are able now technologically to come here, wajione wao wenyewe that it's not that easy as they think. So, and that can only happen if we have this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your thought?
Mimi, I'm always a proponent of like improvement from a generation to the next, right?
Yes.
So nimekuwa tu nikifikiria vile hii issue ya black tax and vile umesema specifically putting a number onto it, because kuna times I've had conversations na my uncle anasema maybe every month nafaa utumie mzae 50 to 100,000 every month na nini ndio aweze kuanzisha biashara zake, aweze kujenga yeye pia, yani aweze kuendelea. So like, and then on the flip side nafikiria like how does this affect vitu ambavyo nataka kufanya in terms of kujielevate, in terms of kuimprove my skills, kuweka hizo finances kuimprove my skills, na kuleta other talents ambazo I can pass on. Like kama I can explore my, because napenda music, I can explore my musical side so that I don't just I don't just have me na hizo internalized ama nisemaje indoctrinated ideas ambazo nimepata through schooling pekee that I can pass on to my kids. So swali langu ni like how does that, how ulisema mambo ya special differentiation kwamba home ni tofauti, hapa ni tofauti, na kwamba we should have these conversations and there should be a middle ground. So
actually there is no even middle ground.
let's say basi tuseme tunafaa tukuwe na some form of harmony tuseme. So like
of course I'll a little bit
najua uko nini na words but unanielewa. So like swali langu,
but we when we speak words, that's what we exist, right? The words we put out, that's what we exist. So your framework of thinking is based on those words. That's the reason why I'm deconstructing that, paying attention to those terms. And so push your question anyways.
Nasema sasa like umesema we should tumeanza these conversations, right? I've not explicitly put it out there na wazazi, but huwa wanaelewa if when I can
Why
help.
do you think wanaelewa na utaput? Why do you assume?
Where do I assume? No.
Why did you have to assume?
I assume sababu my dad huwa ananiambia like unafaa usaidie when you can help, unaona. But on the flip side kuna hiyo vile umesema guilt kwamba
dad akisema hivyo, do you engage with that? Now this time I'm trying to flip it back to you so that we can now start engaging with that aspect of guilt. So do you at one point, have you ever at one point ukikwambia usaidie, right, wengine, have you ever come to a point where you say like engage with them in terms of while you help others, you also need to pay attention to yourself? Have you ever had that conversation? It's a difficult one, but have you ever had that conversation?
No, I haven't.
Why is that?
I think ni mambo na internalize culture, because me I'm the firstborn, sindio? I'm the firstborn, na pia I'm the only male child.
Oh,
yeah, so
man and firstborn.
Yeah, so like growing up, nilikuwa tuna responsibilities za kuangalia my other siblings. I have 3 younger sisters. Yeah, so I've always looked at myself, not even in terms of my siblings pekee, in terms of my friends pia. Unaona, hao watu wananiita baba.
Manake imetoka nyumbani sasa unaona wengine.
Yeah.
So you have to be the breadwinner.
Yeah. I've always looked at myself kama yule mtu ambaye I should always be on the forefront in terms of responsibility. So it's ni kama trying to have that convo kwangu has always felt like I'm trying to deviate from the responsibility ambayo niko nayo kama firstborn na kama quote unquote mwanaume. So
who gave you that responsibility? That's a question. And how did you come to embrace that responsibility? Maybe those would be fundamental. Who gave you that responsibility? Ama ni wewe umejipatia?
No, I think it was my dad, because vile nili grow up, every time alikuwa anaeleza vile I need to take care of my sisters.
Yes.
Vile life is fragile. So every time we have conversations with my dad, he's always talking about vile you never know, right? You can pass on any minute, because pia a side story, but I lost my mom when I was 6.
Oh, sorry.
So he's always talking about vile anything can happen in life. Na if anything happens right now, at least familia inafaa ikuwe in a position where kuna mtu ambaye can step up to be the quote unquote dad. So imekuwa tu hivyo. So nime grow up hivyo. So najiona kama yule mtu ambaye I need to be in a position ambayo I can step up to the plate na ni support my siblings wa achieve dreams, but achieve dreams zao. But on the flip side pia wanajiuliza like where do I come in, because
wewe ndio wanga unajiuliza, ila hutaki kuongea na wao.
Yeah, wanajiuliza sasa like where do I come in, because atujai have conversations na my dad about about what I want as a man, or what I want to achieve, apart from kusema kwamba you need to get married, this atujai I have a convo about what I want to achieve. I'm a dreams ambazo mimi I need to achieve. Now, it used to be there when I was a kid, because my dad used to push me akaniambia you need to work hard ndio uende starehe. And ilianza primary, ilianza actually nursery, and ni push niende nifanye exams, niende private school, nikapita. So nilikuwa na all this success and all these things that nilikuwa nafanya ilikuwa na come from mimi kujipush, kutaka kuwa the best version of myself, right?
Of yourself, or the fashion. I'm sorry to tell you this.
Yeah.
Is it the best version of you or the best version of your dad? Because that's where you are heading. So you are your dad.
No. It was.
You know, I don't know that
I said yes. It's yes and no. Yes. Sababu as a kid, you don't really know what you want.
Yes.
So right. Most of these things come from people around you. Now, yes, my dad pushed me kwenda school, but it was just like a pride thing. I wanted to be the best in school, right?
Yes.
So I pushed myself every time I had the opportunity kusoma. na kutaka kuwa the best in that setting, in primary school. And then I went to Starehe Boys, and it was more or less the same. And I had the flexibility to do camping here and there, to do other things. And yet I still had your tunnel vision, kwamba there's something that I needed to achieve. But then all this flipped when I finished high school, when my dad aliniambia kwamba you need to go to med school. That's where tuli deviate, because alinipeleka kwa watu ambao wameenda med school, akajaribu kufanya wani convince niende med school, but then we didn't come to a consensus, unaona. And because my dream ilikuwa tu kuja abroad from the time nilifika form 1. Kulikuwa na watu kutoka like the US, Canada and the UK ambao walikuwa nakuja Starehe kupeana talks. So wale inspire kaenda nitake kuja abroad, but I didn't really know what I wanted, but I knew kwamba for sure sikuwa nataka kwenda med school. So after nimekuja hapa, so it changed, everything changed for me, kwamba ni feel tu kwamba nimekuja abroad, because venye nilikuwa nakuja, mzazi alikuwa anasema unaenda abroad. I've seen kids go abroad, unaona, na wanaenda wanachanganyikiwa on one side, na on the flip side kuna watu wamekuja abroad 1 or 2 years, nasikia wanafanya part time jobs, wanatuma pesa, washajengea wazazi wao nyumba, unaona. So hapo nilianza kujiuliza sasa yenyewe, I've gone through life doing what you quote unquote wanted. I've become the best version of myself. And in 2018 I was meant to go home. Venye nilimaliza shule, I was meant to go home. And then I had a conversation, because it was one of my lowest moments. So nikaambia my dad, I'm not feeling proper hapa, but I need to come home because si feel poor. Na every time mimi niko nyumbani, every time niko around home too, when I feel kama ni mimi sasa. Ni mimi. So nikaambia mzazi, vile naona nataka tu nikuje nyumbani for some time, because by then nini yangu haiko imeisha, my program haiko imeisha, but I just needed to go home to clear up the air, alafu nirudi. So mzazi akasema there's no way mtu ambaye ako abroad, sijawahi sikia mtu ambaye ako abroad ana face vitu kama mental health, unaona. And I explicitly told my dad, unaona, sasa hivi I'm not the best version of myself, unaona. And all these things ambazo unasema kwamba we need to do as a family, hatuwezi kuzifanya kama mimi sio the best version of myself. So I've kind of had these conversations na my parents. It's just that I think wow pia, because my parents my parents wamesoma later in life, you know. So maybe hawakupata the time hadi this late in their lives kujiuliza maswali, na pia hawakuwa hiyo position ambayo they were the first siblings, because my dad alikuwa like the third or fourth. Then my mom on my side, she was towards the tail end. So hawakuwa na hizo pressures and responsibility. Everything was kind of done for them. So I've tried to have these conversations. Ni vile I think hawajawahi taka tu kusikia, ama imekuwa tu kwao their dream kwamba mimi nisaidie familia, na waonekane kwamba mtoto wetu amesoma, and here is what ameoffer. Yeah,
that's I'm so sorry for I know it's a whatever. In fact, the other day I was talking about as a social worker, we deal with the mental health issue. So one thing I'll tell you, Hilary, I think you've started the conversation. It may seemingly look like they don't even seem like they're heeding what you're saying, but just saying it, the conversation has started, the wheel has started, the step has started. The journey is long, it's gonna be long. But also, you also have to consider the fact that back home, issues of mental health, zinaangaliwangwa in a very, there's a lot of stigma related with mental health. But in this country, like, we openly talk about mental health. I have challenges with you know, with the anxiety. I'll tell you that right now, nimetoka kwa ofisi, and I'm dealing with something I have to finish up. In fact, that's the reason why Mkintumia was already busy typing something to send it to the team. Because they are teaching modes. So I'm trying to push to do a fall course, you know, virtually. So that's another conversation. So it gave me a little bit of some worries and whatever. So I deal with that.
Yeah.
But and I just want to let you know that I think you've started the conversation, and actually that conversation with your parents is necessary for your own healing. They ground you. They will ground you. They will tell you what they are thinking. I think that the key thing here is maybe this is a conversation that maybe should have started even way early enough. Pale ulianza kupatiwa cause, you know, the chores. You know, here they call it cause. I don't know chores.
Yeah.
Hey, my work is on accent, so bear with me. So pale ulianza kupatiwa, you know, responsibility. And you know, those responsibilities, they are not just responsibility, they are an expression of power, cultural power, right?
Yeah.
And this is aspect of back nyumbani, ukiambiwa na dadi kitu, uncles and aunties, you don't talk back, you listen. Yours is to listen. Yes, it's also good for learning, but at the same time, you also want to, you know, you also have to ask yourself, while I do this, so what about me?
Yeah.
Right? What about me? Yes, I'll be doing this, but I know this is a big responsibility, but what about me? Right? Where am I in these mathematics? Right? Do I disappear for others to appear? You know what I mean? And is that disappearance that I think we are engaging with, and that continues also to follow us up even in diaspora. Because tumeambiwa, you know, you have to do this for others, you have to do this for this, you have to do this for us, and then it ends up to be like you don't have a life, and that has an effect on our mental health, right? It has an effect on our mental health. You never realize that actually mental health inaanza kutupatia challenges tukiwa nyumbani. Hapa ndipo kinalimbukiana kufika huko, kinalimbukana kabisa. And why is this? Is because we've been taught to do this. Especially we've told, you know, men don't talk so much. Ukiongea sana, mimi huongea mpaka na, you know, mimi mtu wa kuongea. So that's why I'm a teacher. But I talk so much, and then unasikia tu madhi amenicheki hivi, and there's this dismissal, right? You know, mwanaume haongei sana. You don't express your emotions. So Hillary, it's okay to express your emotions, and don't be worried, right? Because those emotions are who you are, right? You're not just a rational being. Na wewe si kama mashini ya kutengenezea watu wengine maisha yako yakididimia.